Welcome to Revenge Coven, where betrayal meets its match and karma casts the final spell. Join our coven for weekly stories packed with shocking twists, emotional intensity, and the satisfying thrill of revenge done right. Thank you. I sat in my wheelchair outside the dining room, my hand frozen on the doorknob I'd been about to turn. Through the crack in the door, I heard my mother's voice cutting through the air like broken glass. We can't keep pretending Maya has a future. She's a burden we need to plan around. My father's deep voice rumbled in agreement, that same authoritative tone he used in his business meetings downtown. Then my sister Vanessa laughed, that high-pitched nervous sound she made when she was uncomfortable but wanted to seem confident and in control. They were discussing my inheritance, specifically how to legally exclude me from it because I was disabled. My mother continued, her words measured and cold, each syllable carefully chosen like she was dictating a business memo. What would a disabled person even do with money anyway? She can barely manage her own daily routine. We'd be irresponsible parents to leave her substantial assets she couldn't possibly manage. My heart pounded so hard I thought they might hear it through the heavy oak door. I gripped the wheels of my chair tighter, my knuckles turning white against the black rubber grips. The metal rims felt cold under my sweating palms. Then I heard my brother Tyler's voice, casual and dismissive, like he was discussing the weather forecast or a disappointing stock performance. She'll never amount to anything anyway. Let's be realistic here. We're actually doing her a favor by managing this properly. The words hit me like physical blows, each one landing with devastating precision in the center of my chest. I backed away from the door slowly, carefully, making sure the wheels didn't squeak against the hardwood floor they just had professionally refinished last month for $10,000. My own family, planning my complete erasure while I sat just 5 feet away, invisible even when present. 3 years ago, everything was different. I was 35 years old, a promising architect with a corner office on the 15th floor and a wall full of awards that caught the afternoon sunlight and made rainbows. My firm had just landed the biggest contract in our history, a downtown mixed-use development worth $40 million, the kind of project that makes entire careers. I was days away from presenting my revolutionary design to the board, the presentation that would make me the youngest partner before I turned 36. Then came that Tuesday evening in late October, the one that split my entire life into before and after with brutal surgical efficiency. A delivery truck ran a red light at the intersection of 5th and Market Streets. The driver was checking his phone for directions, police said later at the accident scene. My sedan crumpled like tissue paper, the front end accordion folding into itself in slow motion. I remember the sound of metal screaming, the horrifying sensation of flying sideways, then complete darkness and silence. When I finally woke up in the hospital intensive care unit 2 days later, a surgeon with kind brown eyes and remarkably steady hands explained that my T10 vertebra had been crushed on impact. Spinal cord injury, incomplete but permanent, he said gently. The medical terminology didn't make sense at first, sliding past my pain medication fog like oil on water. I'd walk again, they said with careful, practiced optimism, but differently than before. That was the kindest lie medical professionals ever told me in those early days. 6 months later, I was still in the wheelchair, my legs weak and completely unreliable, my core muscles stubbornly refusing to cooperate no matter how hard I pushed in physical therapy. My fiancé Kyle visited less and less frequently, his visible discomfort growing with each medical appointment and each piece of adaptive equipment, until one day he simply stopped coming entirely. He sent his younger brother to collect his belongings from my apartment, couldn't even face me himself to end things properly. My firm restructured my position, they called it professionally. I called it being systematically erased from the letterhead, quietly removed from the partnership track, and politely encouraged to resign. My family's sympathy lasted exactly 2 weeks before I overheard my mother's first cruel comment, spoken over Sunday dinner when she thought I couldn't hear from the other room. Well, at least you won't embarrass us at family social events anymore. They insisted I move back home for support and care. I was too broken to argue effectively, too exhausted from endless physical therapy sessions and too emotionally numbed by crushing loss to see the obvious trap closing around me. Instead of the promised support, I became their live-in reminder of shame and disappointment. My father started introducing me to his business colleagues as our daughter who had a terrible accident, with heavy, deliberate emphasis on the word had. Like my disability was purely past tense, like I was just temporarily broken and would return to normal functioning with enough positive thinking and determination. He'd pat my shoulder while saying it, a gesture that looked affectionate and caring to outsiders but felt like ownership and control to me. My bedroom became my prison cell, decorated entirely with my mother's misguided idea of cheerful motivation, all pastel colors and inspirational posters about perseverance and never giving up. At Vanessa's elaborate engagement party last spring, hosted at the country club, I was strategically positioned near the kitchen entrance, carefully out of all the main photo opportunities. I overheard her talking to her future in-laws, the prestigious Hamilton family with old money and even older prejudices. "That's just my sister Maya," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper she thought I couldn't hear. "She's mentally limited too, not just physically disabled. The accident affected everything. We're very patient with her special needs." The lies came so easily to her, performed with such practiced conviction that I almost believed them myself for a moment. The inheritance letter arrived on a Wednesday morning, printed on formal letterhead from Patterson and Associates, our family's attorney for 20 years. My parents were restructuring their entire estate for tax purposes, the letter explained professionally. There was an important meeting scheduled for next Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Everyone was cordially invited to attend, Tyler with his business degree, Vanessa with her new fiancé Marcus from a Hamilton family. Everyone except me, apparently. When I rolled my wheelchair into the sunny kitchen and asked my mother about the mysterious meeting, she was carefully arranging white roses in her expensive crystal vase, the one she only used for special occasions. She didn't bother looking up from her floral arrangement. "It's complicated financial stuff, sweetie. You wouldn't understand any of it." Her tone was exactly the same one she used when explaining why I couldn't join them for dinner parties at the club anymore, patient but completely final. That night, I couldn't sleep at all, my mind racing with questions and terrible possibilities. At 2 in the morning, I quietly rolled into my father's private study, the one room I usually avoided carefully because it smelled strongly like his expensive cigars and simmering disappointment. His mahogany desk was obsessively neat except for one manila folder, slightly askew from his usual perfect organization. Inside was a draft of the new will, marked up extensively with red pen in the margins. I found my name buried on page 7, a single line that destroyed me. Maya Thompson, excluded from primary inheritance due to demonstrated incapacity to manage financial assets. Limited trust fund established for basic care needs only, to be administered by Tyler Thompson as trustee. Basic care needs, like dog food and veterinary bills. They thought I was completely helpless, mentally and physically. Somewhere between the accident and now, they'd collectively decided the wheelchair meant my brain had stopped working properly too. I never corrected them when they started talking noticeably slower around me, carefully explaining simple concepts like I was a confused child. It was honestly easier than fighting constantly, easier than seeing the mixture of pity and irritation in their eyes when I tried desperately to prove otherwise. My mother bought me adult coloring books last Christmas, wrapped beautifully with a big red bow. Adult coloring books, she emphasized repeatedly, like that somehow made it better or less insulting. Vanessa gave me an expensive tablet loaded with games specifically designed for cognitive development and memory improvement. Tyler gave me absolutely nothing except his obvious disdain, and stopped talking to me about anything real or meaningful. They saw exactly what they wanted to see, a daughter diminished and reduced, a sister safely categorized as permanently less than. But while they saw only a useless disabled woman taking up space, I'd been doing something important in my room every single night they knew absolutely nothing about. After they went to bed, after the large house finally settled into comfortable silence, I'd open my laptop carefully and become someone else entirely. Someone they would never recognize or understand. For 2 years straight, I'd been designing accessible architecture remotely under a carefully chosen pseudonym. M. Rivers, I called myself professionally, deliberately gender-neutral and mysteriously intriguing. My clients didn't know I was in a wheelchair daily. They didn't know I was a woman in her late 30s living in her childhood bedroom while her family openly discussed institutionalizing her. They just knew that M. Rivers created absolutely revolutionary accessible spaces that were simultaneously beautiful and functional, designs that didn't scream disability like a warning label but whispered dignity and respect. My growing portfolio included a celebrated community center in Portland, an innovative office building in Austin, and a stunning residential complex in Chicago. Each successful project earned me more recognition in the architecture industry, more referrals from satisfied clients, more concrete proof that I wasn't what my family claimed repeatedly. Last week, I received an email that made my hands shake uncontrollably. The The subject line read simply, "Opportunity of a lifetime. We'd like to offer you the lead designer position for the new Accessibility Innovation Center, an $8 million project showcasing the future of inclusive design. We believe M. Rivers is the only architect who can bring our ambitious vision to life. $8 million. Lead designer. Me. Meanwhile, my brother desperately needed money. Tyler had always been the celebrated golden child, the entrepreneur, the risk-taker my father openly celebrated and encouraged. He wanted to open a chain of luxury restaurants, high-end concepts in rapidly gentrifying neighborhoods. He needed $500,000 startup capital. My parents pulled from their substantial retirement accounts without any hesitation, my father beaming proudly as he talked enthusiastically about Tyler's vision and natural business acumen. Vanessa asked for $200,000 for her elaborate wedding. My mother cried happy tears and immediately started planning how to make it the premier social event of the entire season. Then there was me. My wheelchair was 7 years old, a basic model provided by insurance coverage. The backrest caused constant pain, muscle spasms that kept me awake most nights. A newer model with proper lumbar support and adjustable features cost $5,000. I showed my parents the detailed specifications, carefully explained how it would significantly help my chronic pain. My father looked at me over his reading glasses. He laughed, actually laughed out loud. That's not an investment, Maya. That's throwing money away on someone who can't possibly give back. My mother nodded in agreement, already turning away dismissively. Tyler smirked. Vanessa checked her phone. I smiled and said I understood. I accepted the prestigious design position immediately. The contract arrived via encrypted email, thick with legal language that absolutely thrilled me because I understood every single word perfectly. $300,000 annual salary. Equity in the firm, 5% to start with options for more. Royalties on my designs, standard industry percentage plus performance bonuses for awards and recognition. I signed as M. Rivers, my hand perfectly steady for the first time in months. They still didn't know it was me, this family eating dinner just 15 feet from my bedroom door every evening. The firm wanted to announce their new lead designer at a prestigious gala next month, a black tie event with press coverage and all the industry leaders attending. A public reveal, they called it excitedly. The mystery of M. Rivers finally solved dramatically. I had exactly 4 weeks before my family discovered the truth. 4 weeks to prepare for the moment when absolutely everything changed forever. I printed the contract carefully and hid it in a folder clearly labeled medical records in my filing cabinet. No one ever looked at my medical records voluntarily. They preferred not to think about the uncomfortable details. I wasn't supposed to hear this conversation either, but I was getting remarkably better at being strategically invisible, at positioning myself where they forgot about my presence entirely. I positioned myself carefully in doorways and around corners where they completely forgot I existed physically. My parents were in the sunroom that afternoon, my mother's favorite space with its expensive white wicker furniture and carefully maintained view of the elaborate garden she paid a professional landscaping company to maintain weekly. We need to discuss long-term options for Maya, my father said seriously, his voice taking on that boardroom tone he used for difficult decisions. My mother sighed deeply, that particular tired sigh that meant she'd been thinking about this uncomfortable topic for a while. A nursing home or specialized care facility. Somewhere professional with trained staff, so we can finally get our lives back to normal. We've sacrificed enough of our own happiness. They discussed my future like a straightforward business decision, requiring careful analysis. Costs per month, various locations around the city, realistic visiting schedules they could maintain without too much inconvenience. My father suggested waiting strategically until after Vanessa's expensive wedding to avoid any uncomfortable questions from extended family. We'll tell people it's for her own good, for her safety and proper care, he said confidently. No one will question our decision. They'll probably think we're saints for keeping her in our home this long anyway. My mother agreed enthusiastically with his plan. They planned to move me out permanently, to systematically erase me from their comfortable daily lives, to reclaim the daughter's spacious bedroom for conversion into a home gym or maybe a guest room for visiting friends. I started moving money systematically the very next day after overhearing their nursing home plans. I opened several new accounts at a completely different bank across town, accounts they couldn't possibly access or even know existed. I contacted a real estate agent named Patricia who specialized exclusively in accessible properties and disability accommodations. She didn't ask invasive questions about why a woman with no apparent income was seriously looking at expensive apartments in nice neighborhoods. She just showed me various options professionally, remaining consistently kind and respectful throughout every viewing. I found a perfect one-bedroom apartment with a fully accessible roll-in shower, extra-wide doorways throughout, and a building elevator that actually worked consistently and reliably. I put down a substantial deposit using money from my first major design payment from Rivers Projects. Then I started meticulously documenting absolutely everything they said and did. I bought a small digital recording device online, no bigger than an ordinary pen, and kept it hidden in my pocket constantly throughout the day. Every cruel comment, every dismissive gesture, every single time they talked about me like I wasn't even human or present. I saved it all carefully, each file timestamped and backed up to 3 different secure cloud services for safety. When my mother unexpectedly found me working on my laptop one sunny afternoon, she frowned with confusion and suspicion. "What are you doing, sweetie?" I smiled my biggest, most convincingly empty smile, the one I'd perfected over 3 years. "Just playing games, Mom. Nothing important or complicated." The wedding shower was held at the country club, all white linens and pink roses. I was required to attend but not participate. They positioned me in the corner near the gift table, like furniture or decoration. Vanessa's friends drifted past, smiling their practiced smiles. One asked Vanessa about me, her voice low but not low enough. "That's just Maya," Vanessa said, her hand on the woman's arm. "She's limited. We take care of her." The pity in their eyes made me want to scream. Another woman, older with expensive jewelry, touched my shoulder. "How generous of your family," she said. I realized then what I was to them. Performance. Charity. Their good deed made visible. They were performing generosity, and I was the prop that made them look noble. Later, over champagne and tiny sandwiches, I heard my mother telling someone how difficult it was, how much they sacrificed, how they kept smiling through the burden. I watched them perform their martyrdom and felt nothing but cold clarity. For more weeks until the gala. The Architectural Digest feature changed everything, though they didn't know it yet. Rivers, the mystery designer revolutionizing accessible spaces. The article went viral on architecture Twitter and LinkedIn. My parents read it at breakfast, my father's tablet propped against the orange juice pitcher. "Now this is someone who didn't let disability stop them," my mother said, genuine admiration in her voice. She sipped her coffee and looked at me across the table. "Not like." She paused, searching for diplomatic words. "Well, some people just have drive." My father nodded, showing Tyler a photo from the article, one of my designs for a museum entrance. "This is innovation. This is what happens when you refuse to be a victim." I sat there eating my oatmeal, watching them praise me while insulting me, completely unaware they were doing both simultaneously. Vanessa asked if she could share the article. "So inspiring," she said. I wondered what she'd say when she learned the truth. Tyler barely glanced up. He was stressed about his restaurants, checking his phone constantly. The gala invitation arrived in my email, formal and thrilling. Rivers and guest for the public reveal event. Black tie. Press. Recognition. Everything I'd worked for, everything they said I'd never have. It was scheduled for 2 days after Vanessa's wedding, perfect timing. I RSVP'd yes. In the guest line I wrote, "No +1 needed. I'm coming alone." I ordered a custom gown online, deep blue silk that would drape perfectly over my wheelchair. I hired a makeup artist and hairstylist who specialized in elegant styles for seated clients. I arranged for an accessible car service. Every detail planned, every moment choreographed. My family saw me in my room on the computer and assumed I was wasting time. My mother made comments about too much screen time. My father suggested I try reading books instead. I smiled and agreed and continued building my exit strategy. The gala program listed me as the keynote speaker. 15 minutes to introduce myself, to explain my design philosophy, to reveal the face behind Rivers. 15 minutes to destroy every assumption my family had made. Tyler's restaurant venture collapsed 3 months in. Poor location, bad reviews, mismanaged finances. He lost everything, mostly my parents' $500,000. He came home on a Tuesday night, his face gray with stress. I watched from my doorway as he explained to our parents, his voice cracking. They'd need more funding to salvage anything. My father checked their accounts. There was nothing left. They might need to mortgage the house, this house they'd owned outright for 20 years. The panic was immediate and ugly. They called their financial advisor, their attorney, their accountant. Everyone said the same thing: they'd overextended, made emotional rather than strategic investments. In their panic, they turned to me. My mother came to my room that night, her makeup smudged from crying. "Maya, sweetie, do you have any savings we could borrow? Anything at all?" I pulled up my bank app, the one account they knew about. $847. "This is all I have, Mom." She believed me. They all did. Vanessa's wedding day was perfect, exactly what she'd planned. 300 guests, live orchestra, flowers imported from Ecuador. I was pushed to the side, literally. My wheelchair didn't fit their photo compositions. The photographer apologized but asked if I could move for certain shots. I watched them arrange and rearrange, erasing me from family portraits. During the speeches, my father talked about his 2 successful children. Tyler's entrepreneurial spirit, Vanessa's grace and beauty. I wasn't mentioned. Vanessa thanked everyone who mattered in her life. I wasn't on the list. At the reception, a distant uncle I barely knew asked what I was doing with my life. Before I could answer, my father appeared, his hand on my shoulder. "Maya's just resting. Recovering. Nothing career-wise." The uncle nodded sympathetically and changed the subject. I sat at the family table, invisible in a room full of people who'd known me since childhood, and felt something inside me crystallize. Not anger anymore. Something colder. Certainty. The night before the gala, I packed my bag. Everything essential fit in 2 suitcases. Clothes, laptop, documents, the few things that mattered. Movers were scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp, while my family would be at brunch recovering from the wedding. I'd rented the accessible apartment, signed a year lease, transferred my security deposit. My new life waited across town. I left a single note on the kitchen counter, propped against the coffee maker where my mother would see it first. "Gone to an event. Don't wait up." Simple, true, devastating in its brevity. My mother texted at 7 p.m., "What event? You don't go anywhere." I didn't respond. I was too busy getting ready, zipping myself into the custom gown, watching the makeup artist work magic with contouring and highlighting. The hairstylist pinned my dark hair in an elegant updo. When I looked in the mirror, I saw Maya Thompson the architect, not Maya Thompson the burden. The transformation was complete. I arrived at the gala in the accessible car service, a sleek black vehicle with a ramp and professional driver. The venue was the Grand Hotel ballroom, chandeliers and marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. Press photographers lined the entrance. I rolled past them, my gown shimmering under the lights. Inside, industry leaders I'd only corresponded with via email greeted me warmly. They still didn't know M. Rivers was me. The firm's CEO, a woman named Diane Thornton, found me near the champagne. "We're so excited," she said. "This reveal is going to change everything." At 8 p.m., they dimmed the lights. A spotlight hit the stage. The CEO took the microphone and began telling my story, M. Rivers' story. "Tonight, we introduce you to the architect who's revolutionizing accessible design." I wheeled onto the stage. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Diane embraced me. I gave my speech about designing for dignity, about how accessibility isn't charity but justice. In the back of the room, I saw him. Bryant Harrison, my father's business partner. He was recording everything on his phone. My parents received Bryant's call at 9:30 p.m. I know because I checked my phone and saw the 17 missed calls, the desperate voicemails. "Did you know your daughter is M. Rivers?" Bryant had asked. Confusion. Denial. Then they Googled me. The Architectural Digest article. The gala photos already posting on architecture websites and industry Instagram accounts. My face, my name, my success, everywhere. My mother called me 18 times. I answered on the 19th. "Maya? Maya, where are you?" What's going on? People are calling us about you being some famous architect. Her voice was frantic, confused, angry. It's true, I said calmly. I've been working as M. Rivers for 2 years. I'm the lead designer for the Accessibility Innovation Center. $8 million project. Silence. Then my father's voice in the background, demanding the phone. This is some kind of mistake, my mother said. You can't be your... She couldn't finish. I'm what, Mom? Useless? Limited? A burden? More silence. We need to talk, my father said, having taken the phone. We're coming to get you. I don't live there anymore, I said, and hung up. They found my new apartment address somehow, probably called every accessible housing complex in the city until someone confirmed. They showed up uninvited Sunday morning, all of them, my parents, Tyler, even Vanessa still in her honeymoon glow. My mother was crying, mascara running. My father looked older, diminished. Tyler seemed confused. Vanessa was on her phone, probably reading articles about me. This is all a misunderstanding, my mother said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. We've always been proud of you, Maya. Always believed in you. My father nodded enthusiastically. We knew you were capable of great things. They rewrote history in real time, their faces earnest and pleading. Tyler found his voice. We supported you through everything. That's what family does. I looked at each of them, these people who'd planned to institutionalize me, who'd excluded me from their inheritance, who'd called me useless and limited and a burden. Really? I said. Tell me, Dad, what was it you said about throwing money away on someone who can't give back? I showed them the documentation. I'd prepared for this, knew they'd try to gaslight me, to convince me I'd misunderstood or overreacted. I played the recordings. Their voices filled my small living room, cruel and casual. She's a burden we need to plan around. What would a disabled person even do with money? She'll never amount to anything. I showed them screenshots of the will draft, their plan to exclude me. I showed them the nursing home brochures I'd found in my mother's desk drawer, places circled in red pen. Their own words, their own plans, reflected back at them with perfect clarity. My mother went pale. Tyler looked at the floor. Vanessa stopped scrolling. My father cleared his throat. You can't hold that against us. We were under stress. You're being cruel. I smiled, the same smile I'd given them for 3 years. No, Father. I'm being realistic. They asked for help with the mortgage. The house was facing foreclosure, fallout from Tyler's failed restaurants and their drained retirement accounts. They needed exactly $500,000. They knew I had it now, knew I earned $300,000 annually plus equity and royalties. They knew I could save them. My mother couched it in family obligation. We're blood, Maya. You help family. My father appealed to logic. It's a good investment. You'd own part of the house. Tyler said nothing, staring at his hands. Vanessa tried guilt. After everything we've done for you. I let them finish. Let them make their case. Then I smiled. I'll think about it. Relief flooded their faces. But first, I continued, I'm curious about the math. How much did you budget for my nursing home? The one you were planning to move me into after Vanessa's wedding. I'd like to know what you thought my care was worth versus what you think your house is worth. Silence fell like a hammer. I offered them a deal. One chance, non-negotiable. I'll help with the house, but you publicly acknowledge what you did. A written apology. Honest conversations with extended family about how you treated me. And therapy together, all of us. My mother started to speak. I held up my hand. Family therapy with a licensed counselor who specializes in disability and family dynamics. Minimum 6 months, weekly sessions. You attend every single one. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa protested. My father's face turned red. We don't owe you performance apologies, he said. We're your parents. We raised you, fed you, gave you a home. You gave me a bedroom in the house you were planning to mortgage, I corrected. The same house you were going to sell to put me in a facility. The same house I'm now being asked to save. My father stood. This is blackmail. This is boundaries, I said calmly. You want my money, you acknowledge the harm. Otherwise, I'm not your bank. They left angry, offended, unchanged. But I knew they'd be back. A journalist writing a follow-up piece on my gala reveal asked about my background. Did you have family support during your recovery and career transition? I paused. Considered lying, keeping the peace, protecting them like I always had. Then I told the truth. All of it. The article published 3 days later. Architect M. Rivers succeeded despite family who called her useless. The journalist had done her research, contacted the nursing homes my parents had inquired about, found public records of the will restructuring, interviewed people who'd heard my family's dismissive comments over the years. The article went viral immediately. Shared on disability rights platforms, architecture forums, family estrangement support groups. My parents' friends read it. Their colleagues. Their church community. The country club members. Bryant Harrison sent my father a text, "We need to discuss our business partnership." The calls started pouring in. People wanting to hear my parents' side, offering unsolicited advice, quietly distancing themselves from the scandal. Social exile, delivered digitally and without mercy. It took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of relentless social pressure, professional consequences, and harsh financial reality before they finally broke. The apology arrived via email first, then printed and signed, delivered to my apartment by my mother alone. It was specific, detailed, accountable. They named their actions clearly, acknowledged the harm done, committed to genuine change. They enrolled in family therapy. My father sold his vintage car collection to make a mortgage payment. Tyler got a regular job, management at a corporate restaurant chain, humbled and learning. Vanessa stopped posting about her perfect life on social media. They were learning humility the hard way, through consequences they couldn't charm or buy their way out of. My mother came alone one evening, without the others for the first time. "Can we start over?" she asked quietly, her voice small. I looked at her, this woman who'd given birth to me, and then decided I wasn't worth investment. "No," I said. "We can't start over. You can't undo what you did." She started to cry. "But we can start from here, from the truth, from accountability. If you're willing to do the work." A year later, I designed 3 major accessibility projects. The Innovation Center won international awards. I was consulted by government agencies on universal design policies. I mentored disabled students through a program I'd created and funded. My family attended my award ceremonies, sitting in the audience, not on stage claiming credit. They introduced me accurately now. Our daughter, the award-winning architect. We had dinner monthly, supervised by our therapist for the first 6 months, then independently after that. The conversations were careful, honest, sometimes painful but always real. They were learning to see me, really see me, not as a burden or inspiration but as a whole person who happened to use a wheelchair. My mother asked about my work with genuine interest. My father stopped trying to take credit for my success. Tyler apologized, really apologized with specifics and accountability. Vanessa admitted she'd been taught to value appearance over character. They were trying. It wasn't perfect. Some wounds don't fully heal, scars remain. But they were trying, and I was allowing it while maintaining firm boundaries, while remembering who I was before they believed in me. I didn't become their miracle by proving them right. I became it by proving I never needed their belief to succeed. The real miracle was discovering my worth had nothing to do with their validation. They called me useless because I was disabled. I didn't cure my disability. I cured their control over my story. And that was the only miracle that mattered.